everybody. Hi, Ryan. Hello. Welcome, everyone. Can everybody hear us okay? Okay, good. Awesome. Well, welcome. I'm excited to get this one kicked off. This is the one that we were talking about doing first, but ended up being second. So I think this one is one that we've had a lot of questions individually about. And so we're really excited to get that in front of you all. So as you guys are coming on, flip on your cameras. We're going to be talking a lot. I want to be able to see you guys, make sure that you're understanding. And that's a lot easier when I can see if your faces look like you're confused. So
I'm always confused.
that's not wrong. Well, I think we're just gonna get going. I think there's a few more people that might come on, but they can get caught up here. First, I just wanted to introduce Racer on Demand. I know a few of you that are on here are already selling with us and working with us on all of the resources that we have for you. Others have not signed up yet. We encourage you to. There's really no cost to sign up or anything. But I am going to screen share just to show you who we are, what we do, and all of that fun jazz. Can you guys see my screen okay? Awesome.
Sure.
Thanks, Ben. Thanks, Chase. All right. So our website, racerondemand.us, we launched mid-May. So we're pretty fresh yet, only not even 6 months in. And we launched with the Champ Off-Road series. So we are piloting it there and looking to expand out in the future to other series, other motorsports, and more racers. Bless you. What we have going on here, we have an online merch marketplace. So each of the racers that signs up with us gets to sell their merch on our website. My monitor just completely pooped out. Uh-oh. That's weird. Anyway, so you get to sell your merch on my website free of charge. And when you click into each of these, you'll see each of the racers that signs up with us has a personalized profile with their own merch listed underneath that. For each piece of merch, there is no inventory held. Everything is made on demand, and we do that on our end. So when an order comes in, we make it, we ship it. You don't have to worry about any of the logistics. We just send you 20% of everything that you sell. On the flip side, all of the racers that are selling with us, as you well know, we pump you full of racer resources. Those are available on our website, whether you're signed up or not, under the Racer Resources tab. We're going to be going through some of these today because a lot of them are centered around sponsorship. There's the blog posts, which I shoot out to you guys in email as well. But we've also got discounts and affiliate programs for a lot of the sponsor support network that we have. So we look at building partnerships, building a following for you, and then also how do you sell your merch? That Racer Pit Kit is there for you. We are building these sections out. We're adding more things all the time. So keep an eye on your email for how we can support you in new and exciting ways. So if you are not signed up to sell with us and it's something that you are looking to do, I'm just going to throw this link in the chat. This page has all the information with like what to expect as you're signing up, what kind of things are being offered, all the stuff we just went over. Down at the bottom, there's also what you'll need to sign up. You'll notice none of these have dollar signs. They are just forms, pictures, biography, all that fun jazz. Are there any questions about who we are or what we do?
Like how Ryan's got a look on his face.
Yeah, he does. He's always got a look on his face, though.
We can't hear you. You're muted, Ryan.
How about now? Is that better?
Yeah.
All
I'm
right.
just getting comfortable sitting back and watching.
Good. Grab a drink. Chris has got his.
Oh yeah, Jessica's over here by me. She's watching as well.
Awesome. Awesome. So we are going to kick off on our topic for today. So today we are talking all about sponsored documents, racer resumes, sponsorship decks, proposals. What are these even? What do they do? Why do we need them? When do we need them? What's on them? All of that we're going to cover in the next 55 minutes. So we've got a lot to cover in a short period of time.
Yep.
So, Chris, do you want to just kind of give us a high level what it is that these documents are and why we're talking about them today?
Yeah, absolutely. So the three documents that we're talking about are really your proper pathway. Once you learn what it is, how to use them, what to do to actually growing your brand, or not your brand, your brand, but growing your connection with a company, but also growing into potentially working with them as a sponsor. But it's steps, it's not direct. So when we talk about three different things, resume, deck, proposal, right? I think one of my favorite things that I've ever heard talking about them was from Alex Streiler, who we have linked to on our website. We learned a lot from him. Is when you start looking at a partnership, you look at it like you're dating, like a relationship. So you don't go to somebody and send them a proposal right away, right? You don't go to somebody and say, hey, will you marry me right away? That's weird, right? That doesn't work. I would say 99.9% of the time you're going to get a no. So why do you have the resume? Well, a resume is kind of the, let's say, go up to somebody, introduce yourself. This is who I am. Here's a snapshot. Bam, it's done. Your deck is a little bit more about you, more in depth, kind of having that story, telling that person about yourself within the first couple minutes of talking to them. And then through that whole process, you then go through to your proposal, which is the end result, which will then be kind of used as a document later on to come to an agreement, and actually can be a legally binding agreement with the prospective partner that you're working with. So we can go into each and every single one. We will, but that's kind of your overview of the three, when to use them, how to look at them, and what and why and how we even start with these.
All right, that's it. Have fun, guys. No, I'm just joking. We're going to go into a lot of depth on each of those. So one thing that, Chris talked about it being kind of like dating, I'm going to make a lot of references to it being like a job application, because I think that's really going to help draw the parallels and help you figure out, when you're using these, what's going on them. And realistically, you are applying for a job when you are looking at a sponsorship agreement. So I do want you to think about it as a job, because you're applying to really be a branch of that company's marketing arm, and they're going to pay you for it. So it really is a job that you're applying for.
Yep.
I also am going to plug, you mentioned Alex Streiler. He does have another sponsorship summit coming up in January. He's got some early bird pricing going on right now. You can look him up on LinkedIn and Facebook. He's advertised codes for early bird pricing through, I think, next week. The sponsorship summits are really cool. They bring together companies and athletes and marketing people all in one place, and they talk about why they sponsor athletes, what it takes to really be sponsored by some of these programs, and how to do it. So they go into a pretty in-depth detail over the course of several hours, and you get to hear from a lot of big names, especially those that participate in the motorsports that we're in. So that's big.
Yeah.
If you don't sign up for early bird pricing, I think he's offering a pretty significant discount, way more than we get through the discount we can offer you. So if you're going to do it now. If you're not sure, you missed the early bird pricing, we do have a code. You can just enter in the promo code on his website for anything. promo code RACER at any point in time, and that'll get you 20% off, including the recordings from the off-road one he just did at his last one. So
yeah, Alex has been, and we're really big supporters of Alex just because he is so well connected and so intelligent and just wants to help grow racers in general. Honestly, it made a complete change in our program and what we're doing, and he's been an amazing ally and advocate. So he's takes it the same with everybody else too. So if you have questions, he's always there as well. But anyways,
yeah. All right, so let's dive in. First, we're going to cover racer resumes, and we're not going to spend a ton of time on this because I think it's pretty straightforward, because realistically, in the name, it kind of tells you what it is. So a racer resume is realistically just a first impression, quick grab somebody's attention. Now, those of you who know me probably know that I work in HR for a living. I have looked at plenty of resumes, and I will tell you that I spend no more than about 10 seconds on each of them when I'm recruiting. That being said, the person that is going to see your resume is also probably only going to spend about 10 seconds on it, and they're going to make a snap decision. So you need to make sure that you are representing yourself in a way that a snap decision is going to be the right route, right? Whether that is, yeah, this really fits or doesn't fit, you want to make sure you're representing yourself well. I'm going to just show you a screen with a few resumes on there just to kind of give you an idea of what they could look like. These are just some samples off of the website of Heather Wilson. She does High Gear Success. She's one of our affiliate partners as well and does offer the service to create resumes for you. But you'll notice what's on here. She's kind of got these laid out pretty similarly, but what do you notice on here? What are some of the sections, some of the similarities between them?
remember to take your guys off mute too if you're talking.
They all have a racer profile.
Sure.
Picture?
Yeah.
Picture of the
picture.
racer.
Yep. A profile picture of the racer
An
and the
An
profile.
action shot.
Yeah. So they show the person and the vehicle, not just one or the other. Yeah. What else?
Goals.
Goals. Yeah. They've all got what's coming next, right? Like, what is my outlook on things? Sure. What else?
It's
If you
all
were-
on one page laid out just like a resume.
Yeah. Yep. All in one page, all in one spot. Quick little snapshot, right? If you're putting together a resume for applying for a job, what are the kinds of things that you put on there?
Your accomplishments.
Yeah. What have you done in the past, right? They say that past performance is a really good indicator of future performance. And that's true as much in employment as it is in our racing achievements and in how we've supported our sponsors in the past as well. So one thing that even Chris and I, we were talking about what we were going to do in this webinar, and we discussed Chris's resume. We decided, you know what, we're not going to actually show Chris's resume because we're going to update it.
Yep.
Because right now we've got a lot of achievements as a result of racing. Mm-hmm. But we're going to reach out to our sponsors and ask for some testimonials and get those on our resume instead, because that's really going to highlight better things for our sponsors that we're looking to get than, hey, I want to race, right?
No different than when a employer wants to kind of look at different references and stuff like that. So
yeah.
But you do it immediately, you do it right away. It's a lot easier. That way they can see it, bam, done.
Yeah. So with the resume, Chris, is there anything that you would add other than maybe just when would you give this to somebody? How do you present a resume to somebody?
Yeah. So a resume is, as much as I hate to say, it's when you, I don't want to say it's when you cold call somebody, because I'm not a fan of that, but sometimes that's part of it, right? A resume is kind of the immediate, here's who I am. I'd love to talk with you to see if there's even an idea of getting to know if you want to do anything with sponsorship, if you're interested in motorsport sponsorship, if you even want to have the conversation with me. Here's who I am. This is what I do a little bit. And you send that out almost immediately. Like that's what you send as part of, I guess, kind of like a cover letter in a sense. You send it out in a way of saying, here's who I am. Would you like to talk? I'm curious about this. You know, I like certain attributes of your company, blah, blah, blah. And have that conversation. So that's this is literally the first document that you will send. Now, sometimes this document is also sent with a deck, depending on if you already know the person that you're sending this to or have had conversations before giving them any type of document.
Mm-hmm. The only thing that I would add to that is, again, to think of this as you are applying for a job. And when you're building out your resume, I suggest that you tailor the things you have on your resume to the job you're applying for, just like when you're looking for employment. So if you are trying to get a sponsorship with a company that is really heavily into like at the track activation, then put a picture of your activation area in the pits and talk a little bit, again, bullet points, 10 seconds, about what you have to offer for that. Now, if they really are more along the lines of like, build an experience for me, then talk about how you've done that in the past, you know, and try and look at what they're sponsoring in other sports and for other racers, and take that as an inspiration for how to guide what to put in your resume.
Yep. And that's okay. It's okay. And you should cater every single thing that you're doing to that person or company that you're working with.
Yeah. So for those of you who don't have a resume yet, there are a couple of ways that you can build one out or have one built out. So I'm going to throw in the link here, or in the chat here, a link to one of our affiliate partners. Megan Meyer with Motorsports Marketing Tips does an amazing job of basically everything that comes down to sponsoring, but I'm going to just show you on her website here. She has a template. So I linked in the product page. If you scroll down just a little bit here, you'll see a racer resume template. Normal price is $27. You can use our affiliate code on here again for 20% off if you do want to build this out yourself. It's a great starting point. So that is ROD is our promo code, really easy for Racer on Demand. So I would suggest using that. She's even got a training video on how to fill it out. So it's really, really simple to use. That being said, I talked about Heather Wilson earlier. I'm going to grab this link as well. Help if I actually hit send on these things.
And again, we're not trying to push this on you guys. It's just really, really good, like starting points. And like for that, $27 is such a cheap investment into your program and getting a much better return. But
it's like $20 with the.
Yeah, we're definitely not trying to push this stuff, but it's very much like it's there, it's available, and these people support us.
Yes. And if you don't want to build it yourself, Heather will do it for you. These are the examples of the ones that she's done. But I also want to point out here, there's a freebie of 10 things to include in your racer resume that'll also help you build one out yourself. So it all depends just on what level you want to do this versus have somebody else do it for you. All right. Our next one is, actually, I lied. Does anybody have questions about resumes?
Chris and Amanda, I just want to touch on, for companies that you're wanting to go after, for any racer that going after, you need to know their demographic and their home country. Usually like with Chinese, European countries, you have to know certain times to go after these companies. It's like with Asian companies, they want to get done with their stuff a lot sooner than other countries. So like with Asian companies are usually like October that you have to go after them. So like with certain companies that you want to go after. I just want these racers to know that you have to go after to them on their demographic areas, to go after their money in their areas to go after. So just you have to think about that a little bit too with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's huge. I think a lot of it is it's never too early. Do not wait for the end of race seasons to start going after new people.
Oh,
That's one
yep,
thing on
yep,
yep.
yep.
The second thing,
October.
you can look and actually see when most companies' years are and how they work. And it's not even just foreign companies that will do that. It's a lot of different US based companies will have different times that they do this stuff. So
Yeah.
feel free to, if you do get in contact with somebody, to just ask them like, hey, when are your years? What are your quarters? How does that look? What's your, do you have a fiscal year? Do you not?
And most importantly, when do you need your budget finalized?
Yeah, that's huge.
Yes.
I'll tell you.
That might be the best.
We're so
direct
used to our US based where we're thinking like October, November, where these other companies that are from other countries, they're so much earlier than us.
Yep.
Yeah.
Some will close out in July. Some, yeah.
Well, and I'll tell you, the company I work for, based out of Appleton, Wisconsin, our fiscal year ends on July 31st. So we're finalizing budgets in the spring.
Yep.
You know, it's very different, and it's a really important question.
For sure. As racers in the Midwest, we always think like October, November to try to finalize something. You have to do something a lot earlier.
Yep.
Yeah. And oftentimes it's a long game too. You might reach out to somebody in November, December, find out that their budget is concrete, but really you haven't even built a relationship yet. You spend the next, 6 or 8 months building a relationship and a budget at the same time.
Which is
Yep.
frankly the better way, the more important, and you probably have more success doing it that way too. So play the long game.
Yep.
Yeah.
Long term,
All right.
the 12 to 16 month game is the best.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And for the bigger sponsors, sometimes it's even multi-year.
Oh yeah. Yep.
All right, we're gonna keep trucking. We've got Dex up next. So we're probably gonna spend a bit of time on Dex. I think it's a really important place to put your focus. I am going to pull up a deck that is decent. I couldn't find one that I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. I think it's the best deck, including our own. So I pulled one up that I think is decent enough. And I just kind of want to share what a deck is overall. I'm going to share my screen here again. So this is for Alistair Scully. I just found this on LinkedIn. He is racing rally and Nitro Cross, RIP.
For right now.
Yeah, for right
anyways.
now. But anyways, so you'll see here, it's set up as a presentation. He's got 9 slides. And as I flip through, we've got a ton of pictures, at least on the front one. We're bullet pointed. He's talking kind of high level about motorsports in general, what kind of money is involved, what kind of fan base is involved. He talks about himself, again, kind of at a high level, bullet points, quick glance, but a little bit deeper than you would go in a resume. Talks about the series that he races in, and not only, what it is, the thrilling tracks, huge jumps, blah, blah, but he's also talking about how it is accessible. So how can people interact with this sport? What kind of people like this sport? He does the same for both of them that he races in. Then he talks about what are the opportunities, and this is where I really want to highlight. I talk about the WIIFM quite a bit. What's in it for me? And as you're building out a deck, and really as you're building out any communication with a potential sponsor, I want you to be constantly asking yourself, if they were talking to me saying, what's in it for me? Am I giving them the right information? So here, he's not saying this is, what I need from you as a sponsor. He's saying, here's what's in it for you as a sponsor. And he's not just talking about a sticker on a car. He's talking about all the different ways that he can provide hospitality, that he can do activation, experiences. And he says, you know, I can make a bespoke program. Whatever you guys want to do is something that I can probably tailor to meet your goal and your budget. He's got in here, this one I think is really important, and it's part of why I picked this, even though I don't think it's the best deck I've ever seen in my life. He has in here his values. So I know that many of you were on the call last time when we talked about building out your brand, and it was all about your values. And this is really big in your deck, is not only just to tell them like who you are and what you race and about your sport and the demographics, but to tell them what you stand for, what makes you different from other people, and why should they partner with you over another racer that's in the exact same series as you. At the end here, he's just got an appreciation slide and another picture. Now, if I was going to critique this, I would say more pictures, because again, this is quick glance. We want to see more pictures. Probably need fewer words to describe, you know, who you are and what you do.
If you can utilize pictures or some type of imagery instead of text, it's going to be a lot quicker, a lot easier to go through, because you have to also realize these decks, the marketing person that you're working with is typically going to be getting about 500 of these within a week or more, and they want to go through it quick, and they want to see it to the point, what it is, how you get that to really get that point across quickly.
Yep. If I was recommending what to add in here, I'd say audience demographics would be really important. If you have them, if you don't have them, try and find them. So at least in our sport, Champ does send out demographics to all of the racers. Use those. Also, the demographics on your social medias is really an easy way to say I reach, 48% of my audience is men and they're 18 to 55, and just kind of start to tailor that down. But then think outside the box too, right? In our sport, we're outside, we're getting dirty all the time. We have a lot of blue collar workers, a lot of people that love the outdoors. Those kind of things are really important too, not just how old somebody is, where they're located, and things like that.
Yeah. What are they into? What's their passion? What do they do for fun? All of that. Yeah.
One thing I do want to point out that I liked about this deck as well. Did you guys see anything in here asking for money? Don't ask for money in a deck ever. So I said I was going to start drawing connections about applying for a job, right? So your resume goes out there. You don't have down what you want to be paid on your resume, and you give them your resume. Cool. Then this deck is like your job application. You're trying to get an interview with this. And when you're trying to get an interview, you are still not asking for a paycheck yet. That paycheck negotiation comes after the interview. So we're going to hold off on it being on our deck. Chris, is there anything else you'd add about this?
Not really. I mean, maybe a little more trying to highlight who you are. I think the biggest thing is pictures. The biggest thing is really getting that image of who you are and what your brand is across quickly. Aside from that, again, I'll say you want it to the point. You want it quick, you want it easy, but you also want it impactful. You want to make sure that when that person looks at it, they know who you are and what you stand for.
Mm-hmm. So when do you use a deck?
Sure. So a deck is kind of like Amanda said, it's like your job application. I will send a deck over most times if I'm working with the right people. They will request, hey, can you send this over quickly? Typically it's after the first phone call or meeting that I have with somebody. It's, I like this. I like where this is going. I have a good feeling about this. Can you send me a deck over? And that doesn't mean anything else. You send literally just that. And I say that because I don't want people sending proposals over, because that is so far from what the deck is. The deck is your, like Amanda said, your job application, and the communication. You may have 20 points of contact before anything else happens. You may go back and forth and they might ask you questions. They might say, hey, do you have any information on this? Or can you explain this a little bit more? Or when you say that you have an activation space that does this, what does that look like? And you're just kind of talking back and forth and really making that relationship start to grow. It's getting to know somebody. It's getting to have that talk. But this is kind of that initial talking point of, you can always reference back to it. It's kind of like a dating site in a sense, like, oh, on your dating site, it says this. What can you tell me about that? Right. So to me, that's very much where you utilize a deck, is to show who you are and then use it as a talking point before anything else.
So, Michaela, I know you're on here. Do you have anything that you'd want to add on this too? I know this is definitely a hot point.
No, for sure. In the deck, or at least for all the people I work with, we tailor the deck. So if the brand has a color scheme like Monster Energy, we would make it green and black, put some of their logos on it. If we've never done an activation before, but maybe they've done one with a driver in the past in a different event, we'll take that picture off of Google and put it in there. And
Mhm.
in addition to all of our pictures, they can kind of get an idea of what that looks like for them as well. Yeah, thanks for asking.
Love that. Yeah. Just like we talked about with the resume, it's so important that each of these documents is tailored to the company that you are going after.
Yeah, I'm gonna hit on that. I'm gonna kind of steal it from you real quick. Companies know when you do generic everything. Somebody that lives in this world every single day will look at it and go, oh yeah, this is one of those that they sent to everybody else and changed the name and called it good. Make sure that even if it's a Canva or another template that you're using and you're just changing the colors, kind of like Michaela said, make sure you truly try to put a little bit of time and effort into catering it to the company that you are trying to work with.
Time, effort, and research.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. I am going to drag over another deck that I found. So this one's in the form of a website, which is interesting choice, but I think it's okay. This one, I want you to tell me what's wrong with this. There are a lot of things. I'll put it in the chat too, so if you want to look at it on your own. But I'm just going to scroll through this kind of slowly. At the top, we've got a picture of the car, the team. It says brand awareness, car sponsorship. Goes into why sponsor a car sponsorship options, and it talks about the different kinds of sponsorship that they are looking for. It then goes into what is a primary sponsor, what is a partial primary sponsor, what is an associate sponsor. Oh, and then at the bottom here, they've got prices for all of those. And then we're at the end. So what are your thoughts on this one?
It didn't really tell us much about the driver, their team, their personal series that they run with. It kind of just went into those preset packages, which we learned from our last session with Racer on Demand that we should not do that. So it just kind of puts it out there of like, these are our preset packages, and this is what we would be asking as a requirement to secure that spot.
Ding, ding, ding. Yes, those are two big issues, right? Who the heck are we even talking to? It doesn't even say their name. All the way up. Where do you want? Here.
There and slightly down to the other one. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it doesn't even have literally the driver's name is not even on here. I have no idea who this is for.
Well, it is a team because we did look into it.
Yeah, I had to click
on
on
the
other
website.
things.
But again, remember, this is quick. This is something that a company wants to go through and go, bam, there it is. Okay.
Mhm.
So if there's multiple tabs and a bunch of stuff that they have to do, you lost them.
Gone. Totally gone.
Yep.
And they're asking for money before you even know who you're talking to.
One thing I want to point out on this one, and we don't know these people at all. So I'm sure if they ever catch wind, they'll probably hate us for it.
Yeah.
But
Just Googled it.
um, the thing up here that says brand awareness car sponsorship, that to me sounds like a very canned, pre-made template, right? Branding, why sponsor a car? That makes me cringe so much because you're not sponsoring a car. You're not anybody can sponsor a car, anybody can sponsor a billboard, anybody can sponsor a rock, right? They don't get value out of doing that. I shouldn't say they don't get value. They don't get a proper return or value out of that, because they're looking at you as the driver, as a team owner, as a brand, as what you are and who you are. That's who they're focusing on. They don't care about NASCAR or something that has stickers on it. Like, cool, thank you. That's not a thing. You can pick anybody off the street and go do that. You can find somebody on the side of the highway and say, I know that you go to work from 9 to 5. You drive around these times. You have about 30,000 people that are going to see your vehicle. Let's put a wrap on it. Why don't people do that right now? It doesn't do anything. So little side tangent, but I just wanted to point that out because it's really cringy to me. So please don't do that.
It was a valid rant.
And Chris,
Yeah.
Chris, in that little picture that you have right there, there are 4 different cars, completely different cars that are valued in there. There is
Yes.
no specific car that you are associated to as a driver.
Correct. Yep.
Mhm.
Yep.
There are drivers here. I thought we were just talking about the cars.
So anyways, we'll move on from that.
Anyway.
Right.
All right. I am going to give you guys another one. This one, I've showed you one that I thought was pretty good. I've showed you one that I thought was really bad. I am going to show you one that I think has good and bad things. I just threw the link in the chat and it is loading so slowly for me. Does that load for you guys if you click on it? Oh, there it goes. Very slowly for Ryan too. All right. I'll share my screen again just in case it's not loading for you guys. This one, I want to kind of do the same thing, but I want you to take just a little while to scroll through this, look through this deck, tell me what's good, tell me what's not good. And there's both. I'm just going to give you a couple minutes to look through it. Yeah, it does that. It's fine. It'll come back. Why is it doing that?
It definitely took me a little while to realize what series he's running in or what style of racing he was doing.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I
That's
thought it
kind of
was
way at the end here.
I thought it was interesting that the only opportunity for any event activation is strictly for their title sponsor as well.
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, they said not applicable if you're any of those other tiers.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you're right, Chase. You're exactly right, then, Chase.
Also, why is that in there?
Yeah, why is this in a deck?
I love it.
What else? What's good about this deck? What do we like about it?
It uses good like use of media and color scheme to kind of stick to their brand.
Mm-hmm. It looks nice.
Another thing is some of the slides are not bullet point. They're pretty like lengthy paragraph, particularly like meet the driver.
Mhm. Yeah, that one's kind of wordy. I would probably shorten that up a bit. It's not the end of the world, but it's pretty wordy.
How about some positives on it?
They have pretty good metrics on the series and demographics of the fans, different
Yep.
coverage, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Is there anything missing from these metrics?
What the driver is willing to do for the company.
Yeah, he's got like a little blurb here, kind of. But there's really not much.
Are there no attendance metrics on there? I saw a lot of social and viewership, but is there no like in-person attendance numbers on there?
No.
I don't think there are. There's also like I'm kind of a little bit of a gotcha here. There's literally nothing about the driver's reach at all.
Yep.
All of these metrics are for every single driver who races in this series.
So what he just did was
Yep.
gave this potential sponsor the series information, and that's it. That's all he did. So now the series can be like, all right, thanks. Or the company can be like, all right, thanks. And we already have that, but why you over anybody else, you know? So that's kind of what they're going to look at and go, okay, thank you for that, but what about you? What are you doing? Do you have one follower on Facebook? Do you have any presence at all? What do you do? You know,
Yeah.
do you have a brand? Do you have anything about that you stick to?
He just shares like political memes. That's all he does on Facebook.
Don't do that.
No.
Yeah, Chris.
What
Chris, it almost seemed like he shared exactly like what ISOC gave us in the email for like
Yep.
overall viewership and contact, but nothing
Mhm.
specific to that particular driver or his race team.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And while that's okay, also include your information. Like companies want to see what the series is and what they reach and all of that kind of stuff, because you're going to get a million other drivers that have the same type of social media following or impact or engagement as you do, but they also want to add that to what the series is doing and how that looks as a whole.
Mhm.
Yeah,
What else
and
do
they
we
want
like?
something more personal to you as a driver.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this deck is supposed to be all about who the driver is
Mhm.
and why it would be smart to partner with us, right? So what else do we like and dislike about this one? Anything else? Do you guys remember the WIIFM I talked about? What's in it for me? There's stuff in here that I don't think he's thinking about a company when he's putting in here. Like, is a sponsor really that worried about the car to
Yeah.
the point where it takes up an entire slide?
The exact specs, all of that.
Right.
Unless for some reason you're working with a manufacturer
Maybe it's BMW.
that wants the exact specs of everything, but that is also something that they would end up requesting. So that is not something that you would do unless they said, I want this. So that whole slide can get removed, and it could just be a picture of the race vehicle that says, this is what it is, and this is the class I race.
Mhm.
Yes.
So again, as you're writing this stuff out, always be thinking about what's in it for me for the sponsor you're going after. And I think that's kind of missing here.
Is the putting the schedule in there a good idea? I like
Yes.
it, but is it a good idea? Okay.
If you can get that out sooner, that's the best thing you can ever do. Is I have so many companies that are asking me for the schedule in a year in advance or more.
If only
So,
we had that soon.
yeah,
Well, we're making it up this year.
yeah. We kind of
Yeah.
just like
I think this is what it's
Yeah.
gonna be. If it changes, we'll tell you.
yeah. So, and don't be afraid to have that communication as well. Biggest thing that I'll say with all of this, starting your relationship, keeping that going, is communication is everything. So just be very forward and upfront. Say, hey, I don't have that yet. This is about when they're going to release a schedule. Here's what we could probably get you. How do you feel about that? And kind
Sure.
of just go through it that way. But yes, definitely include it in the deck. There is nothing wrong with having your schedule in there, especially if it's not just one series. If you're doing different events, filming events, shows, stuff like that, add that into that schedule, and just note that that's outside of the series and it's something else that you're doing. That could be a specialty event as well.
Yeah. Like we've put in the past when we went out to Hammers, like that was in our schedule. And this year we're planning on going out to the Mint. That's on our schedule,
Yeah.
even though it's not part of Champ.
Yeah. Or like I'll probably be attending a couple different shows just as a driver without the vehicle. Put that in there. They want to know that because that is more stuff that they're going to be able to work with you on.
Yeah.
Okay.
So just like we did for resumes, I'm going to just show you how you can build your own deck, how you can get help building a deck, what those resources are that are out there for you. So I've already showed you motorsportsmarketingtips.com is Megan Meyer, our affiliate. Under freebies, she's got this really cool sponsorship deck success checklist. I downloaded it last night just to make sure it aligned with what we were talking about. And it absolutely does. So I would definitely recommend downloading that. It's a great starting point if you're planning on building this out yourself. If you are not planning on building it out yourself, we've got you covered there as well. Are you kicking our cat right now?
I'm being attacked by a kitten right now.
She's been biting our feet this whole time. All right. So we have a couple different resources. So on the Racer on Demand Racer Resources page, you'll find here we work with AJ over at Speed Motive. He will build out a racer sponsorship deck for you. Now, what's really nice about AJ is he knows off-road really well. So if you are in the off-road scene, so is he. He is phenomenal in that space and can really help differentiate you from the other people in that space because he knows the players. So I will shamelessly plug him there. We've got our discounted pricing on our website. You can buy it straight through Racer on Demand if you're interested. You don't need a discount code or anything because it's already at the discount price there. The other one, we talked about Heather Wilson already. She also has that on her website. I plugged that into the chat previously. I want to pop back to Megan Meyer just for a hot second because she also does deck reviews. If you build one out yourself, but you just want to make sure that it's okay. In her agency services, she has a sponsorship deck critique. She'll go through it with a fine-tooth comb for you and just give you tips on how to update it versus building one out for you. Again, the 20% off discount works, I believe, across the board for that as well. So
again, I'm going to keep saying this, guys. Invest in yourself a little bit. Put some money aside and put that into your program because it's going to pay dividends. So just if you can do it, do it. It's worth it.
yeah. All right. We got 12 more minutes. Oh my God.
Yeah.
What questions do you have about decks before we move on to proposals? No questions.
Right.
Damn, we're good.
We're really bad.
All right, so we are going to move over to a proposal. So Chris touched on the fact we don't propose to people until we're ready to marry them. We don't propose to a sponsor until we're ready to negotiate a contract. So a proposal is the basis of a contract. It is when you are finally getting that job offer or you're negotiating a job offer. And this is where we talk about the price tags. So I am going to share I kind of, I don't know, genericized, is that a word?
It is now.
I'm sharing one of our proposals that we've sent out. A proposal isn't exactly something that you can stumble across online very easily. But I wanted to show you what a proposal could and maybe should look like. I don't know that we're the best at this, but we're doing all right.
Frankly, a proposal is going to be your to the point information. So don't get caught up in if it looks the prettiest. You want it to look nice and professional. You don't need it to be anything but clear and concise.
Yeah, this is not where you are trying to sell them on who you are and your series and all of that jazz. You've already done that legwork. You don't need a ton of pictures, but you do still need it to read true to yourself, true to your values, and you need it to sell. So this is when we are selling something, because we're asking for big price tags. And if you're not, you're doing it wrong. You should absolutely be valuing your time and putting big price tags on things. We could talk endlessly about how to value those things, and we probably will in the future. But don't undersell yourself. And I'm going to say that over and over again. Do not undersell yourself. You can always negotiate down. You can never negotiate up.
Yep.
So we put a cover page on ours. We typically include the company logo on here somewhere, their name, when we're partnering with them for, if we're partnering for the year, we'll put the year on there. But a lot of times we're putting a proposal out there for a project or for like a weekend or something along those lines. So just title it accordingly if you're putting a title on there.
And if you can, kind of like Michaela said earlier, you could change the color, cater the color to them, to what their company color is, something like that. Make it look a little more like you. It's not just a canned, generic proposal as well. So just make it a little bit geared towards the company as well.
Now, that being said, we're purple. Our stuff is purple. That's just how that works. So you'll notice ours, this one was a pretty in-depth proposal. So it's pretty long for a proposal. A lot of times these are 1 to 2 pages. Ours ended up being 3, plus we had just gotten the race schedule actually affirmed, so we stuck that on here. That could be on the deck as well, but it's just something that this sponsor specifically asked for, so we tacked it on.
That's a big part too, is when you're doing these proposals, this is a communication thing as well. You are asking what they need to see on this, because like I said, this can be a legally binding document or used in a legally binding document or contract. So they can take bullet points out and say, okay, here's what you said. These are the deliverables. I need you to actually return that. And this is part of this contract that we'll put together. So it's not just a throwaway thing, but always ask what they want and have that talk. Make sure that you're sitting there and really just chatting and saying, hey, okay, I know you're asking for this, but like, would you rather see it this way, or how about that? And you should be having that established relationship already, that they're going to be like, oh, no, this is how I need it. Thank you.
Because remember, if we're talking again about that funnel into a job, we've given them our resume. So then we applied for our job through the deck. And this is where we're going over the job description, and we're selling our services as a contractor. So this is our contract. These are our deliverables, and that's what I'm going to get into on here. Up at the top, I tend to just put down kind of what the overview is of the theme for this proposal. So, if you are trying to do activation, tell them you're doing activation. If you are trying to do an experience package, tell them you're doing an experience package, and just really put that nice and tidy at the top. So in one sentence, they have an idea of what you are trying to sell them. Because again, remember, we are selling. What I've done at the top of our proposal here is I've highlighted the 4 main things that our sponsor was asking for. So these are not the things that we said, I think I can fix this for you and I'm going to sell it to you. We went off of what they were asking for, and they wanted to reach new audiences. They wanted to build brand trust. They wanted to activate their brand and products, and they wanted to funnel sales to their companies. So we highlighted how we're going to do that in bullet points, short, sweet, to the point.
And all of these points that are on there, you've already had these conversations. This isn't something you're making up. This is literally, how do you want to see that we're able to offer this? This is putting on paper pretty much the conversations you have had with that person or with that company. It's taking it, it's putting it down, kind of making it more clear, more concise, and saying, bam, there it is.
Mhm. Now, underneath that is when we got more in the weeds of what specifically we are delivering. So these are the deliverables. This cat is gnawing on my toes
I
right
know.
now. These are the deliverables. So if we're talking about this is what you are going to pay us to do. So on here, we've got exactly what they can expect from us. If you are signing on to do like social media content, tell them how many posts you're going to do, how often, what kind of posts they're going to be. If you are doing at the track activation, tell them what that's going to look like, how you're going to fulfill that, and when they can expect to see that, how often. So you're going to get really pretty detailed in here because this is a protection for both you and for your sponsor. If you are delivering, but they aren't, then you can say, hey, we agreed that if I gave you this and this and this, then you were going to give me this. And that's not always money. Sometimes that's cross marketing. Sometimes that's getting you travel somewhere or an opportunity to meet somebody that you want to meet, right? Like there are other ways to provide value back to a racer other than money. But that also protects your sponsor because they can say, hey, we paid you X number of dollars and you promised us this deliverable, this deliverable, this deliverable. And that's where this becomes a contract.
Mhm.
I will say one thing that I've seen on a lot of proposals that I don't agree with is a very itemized breakdown. And oftentimes when I see a very itemized breakdown, I see it in terms of our racing costs. They don't care at all about what it costs you to race. They want to know what you are charging them for the services that you have laid out as deliverables. So think about if you were to hire in a plumber to come in and replace your hot water heater, they're going to give you an estimate that might include maybe the water heater and the labor breakdown and the total, right? They're not going to tell you it cost me X dollars to drive here. It cost me this much for the part, but I'm marking it up this much. And also, you know, my time is this. And I also need to eat on my way here. They're not going to tell you that. They're going to give you a total down at the bottom and say, this is what it costs for me to provide this service. And I encourage you to do the same as the plumber and put a price tag down at the bottom that says, this is what it costs for me to do this service for you.
Yep, that's one of the biggest conversations I've had with so many different people is like, why you don't have to put this on here. I don't care. Like back in our really bad days of learning through all of this, the talks were, why is that? Like, I don't care about that. Like, I understand that it's expensive, but I'm not going to cover the costs of your whole program because you gave me what that costs. I'm just going to, the value provided is what we're working on here. So do we want to hit on the tiered thing? We should.
Yeah, do it.
Okay, so kind of like what Kim had mentioned, tiered proposals. For so many reasons, like we just kind of explained and walked through, you shouldn't be doing tiered proposals for companies because you should already have a relationship with them. You should be knowing what they want, what they're requesting, and put that down as one set price. Now, I do say that, but I have had to put in tiered proposals for a company. Actually, I think 2 different companies. And I will say that it doesn't work out. They see it and they're like, I don't, that's not what I want to do. But if you give them a very specific, this is what we're doing for them proposal with one cost, that's what you're going to get. Now, you can always negotiate from there. If you say, here's what we're at, and you've had these talks and they really liked it, and then you say, that's way out of budget, then you can say, well, what is your budget? That's the communication you have with them. You say, what is your budget? What can you afford? And then retailer a new proposal to that company if you want to continue working with them. You definitely don't want to just have gold, silver, and whatever, premier, platinum. Just, yeah, don't do that.
Yeah.
On so many levels. So that is typically, if a company is going to ask you for it, say, I don't like doing this just because I want to cater a program to what you need, what your needs are, instead of giving you a generic thing, because that is where motorsports has kind of hurt themselves, is by saying, I have a tiered package, and everybody thinks that's what sponsors want. They don't care. They don't want that. They'll look at it and like, nah, I don't want to work with this person now.
And again, think back to a plumber, right? A plumber might give you an estimate. You might say, I can't afford that. He might come back and say, hey, I can get a generic one. It'll be this price. It's just not going to be quite as good.
Yep.
Right. And
or he'll say, I can't afford that, or I can't do that. Sorry.
Sorry.
This isn't going to work out.
it's not a
And
good
that's
partnership.
and that's okay for you to say it's not a good partnership and walk away from it and maybe save that for another date.
I will say, I'm just going to give an example. We're doing some traveling this weekend to do a cool event that we were going to do.
It's some filming.
It's some filming. We're doing some content creation, and we were going to do it whether we had sponsors lined up or not, because it's a really cool opportunity. But it was definitely a marketable opportunity. So we reached out to a lot of our partners saying, hey, here's our price. If you want to sponsor this entire event, and we will tailor this content to you and deliver this, and this. We didn't have anybody bite on being kind of like I'm going to put this in quotes because it's not a title sponsor for this event, but we had a couple people say, we have a budget, but it's not that big. What can you do for X dollars instead?
Mhm.
And guess what we got to do? We got to go through all of the things that we were going to do anyway and say, well, for that amount, I think it would be worth doing this piece of content, this piece of content, and that piece of content. And they said, sure, here's money, right? Like, so it's not the end of the world if you're asking for too much. You can always negotiate down and talk through a budget instead of tiers. Tears just give me the willies. So I think we hit all the points on proposals there.
We're over time, but
We are
we
over
should,
time.
we should open that one up a little bit to some questions.
Yes.
There's a lot of topics here.
First, I do want to point out, and I've linked it in the chat already, on the Racer On Demand resources, we do have a couple of different proposal building pieces for you. There are 2 packages from AJ at Speed Motive. He has kind of an entry-level package, and then he has a much further in-depth package. I will say the price tag is big on those proposals. You're going to be surprised probably when you see how much it costs to do a proposal. But the reason behind that is AJ does the research for you, and he will help you think of things that you can sell and help you sell them. So it is far more than the document.
Yeah, it's kind of like if you hire a marketing manager to do it all, and you're going to typically paying a lot more than that too. So
Yes.
yeah, there's a lot of different levels to that, but I would say it's a very cool offer that he will put out there, that he will dive into what it is. And if you don't have the time to do it, it's worth the investment. And if you have the time to do it, you're going to save money, and you're going to learn yourself exactly what that needs or what you can try to do for them.
Yes. And if you want to try doing it yourself instead of having AJ do it for you, again, motorsportsmarketingtips.com, Megan Meyer has a template for it that you can use and just kind of fill in the blanks. It'll guide you through what should and should not be on a proposal. And that'll help you get started if you want to do it on your own. Again, ROD is the code on her website. We went through a ton. I know we're over time, but we are here to support you as you're trying to understand and get your head wrapped around all of these different concepts and documents. What questions do you have for us? And then we've got Michaela on it as well, which is awesome. And, we welcome her feedback too.
We'll just throw her under the bus as well.
Yeah, we're just calling you out.
There's got to be some questions, guys, because I told
All right,
you.
I'm going to throw this out there.
All right.
So, like, with Chase and myself, I don't know about everybody else, we work in a massive area outside of the tracks that we race at. So it's hard to sell ourselves to local companies to sponsor us for racing out. And like, I can't go after an Indiana company to sponsor me to and get a lot of feedback or money back for them sponsoring me to go up and race in Wisconsin. It is a tough area to go after, but we need to learn how to sell ourselves outside of our area, outside of our demographic area, sell ourselves outside to these companies and get some better feedback with some companies. It's tough to do, but we have to learn how to work ourselves outside of the area and sell ourselves.
So I will say to Ryan, you are almost never selling your races as part of your proposal and part of your value to a sponsor. So I don't know if Josh is on. I had him talk about it at the last one. Josh Skeideman races side by side in the Champ Series, and he recently had his side by side out at a liquor store because Carbless was having an event there, right? And it was a very small, like local liquor store. He went out there because Carbless sponsors him. He walked away with a liquor store sponsor as well, because they brought in so many people just by doing this very small couple hour event local to him. Now he's, 45 minutes from the closest track, but it doesn't matter if he was 45 minutes or 4 to 5 hours away from the track, because it had nothing to do with what he was doing on the track. And it had everything to do with him bringing people into a business. So being able to think outside of the track and say, what kind of content can I deliver? What kind of experiences can I deliver? How can I activate a product? Those are the things that you want to be selling, and you can sell that anywhere.
The biggest thing I like to tell people is leverage your program and leverage your race car. So what I mean by that is, if you take kind of like what Josh did, he took his UTV out to this liquor store, and he wasn't racing it. It was just sitting out in front, and he was standing there. He had some of his own promotional stuff with him, but he was helping Carbless sell at that liquor store. And from talking to them, their sales, they made a ton of sales off of that. Carbless alone made like a huge uptick in sales because of that.
They went through thousands and thousands of cases of Carbless there.
Yeah, so
crazy.
So stuff like that. Think outside of just the races. No, the races are valuable, right? You're in front of, let's say, 5,000 to 100,000 engaged fans in person. So what you're doing at that racetrack is very valuable if you're engaging those fans. So there's nothing wrong with that. And it's a hard thing to kind of sell at times, Ryan, especially on like you said, on local companies, but also look at what that local company needs. Do they have something that is only local to Indiana, or is there something where it's like, oh, we do business up with this company north, or it's really close to that racetrack, or it's near this one. Could you like stop by there, or could you pick something up, or maybe
schmooze them,
or could you bring them out, or well, we're gonna send them up, we'll cover their costs to go to the racetrack. Can you,
show them around,
see what it's like, stuff like that. So it's really there's so many avenues here, and it's another thing that we'll go down talking about on another time, but it's the B2B connections are important, all of that kind of stuff. And when I say B2B, I mean business to business, right? So there is always ways and avenues, but you just got to talk and have those talks with them to see what that is. Now, there are companies that are just like, nah, doesn't make sense. It's not my place, not my people, and that's okay too.
Mm-hmm. This might not be the best partnership.
Yep.
What other questions do you guys have?
I think for me, as I'm looking at this stuff, trying to figure out the right way, and again, you'll probably talk about this in a later thing, is one, how to value my program and what I can offer. Two, for me, kind of to Ryan's point with just where I'm located, it's where no one really is even aware of these races, even though ERX is a few hours away. Most of them don't really know that this is a thing. And then trying to figure out what I need to invest in within my own program. So last year I ran to every race, just open car trailer, didn't have anything within my pit to really do any sort of sponsorship activation or anything like that to prove that I can do that. So as I'm kind of working on my deck and starting to connect with different companies, trying to figure out, okay, what can I actually package together, whether it's figuring out social media content, which my shop that I'm working on a thing is 2.5 hours away at a friend's place because that's how I can make work. But even that limits the ability to do like content with a vehicle, that sort of thing. So trying to get creative with that, I think just trying to figure out ideas to get creative with these companies when there's kind of those sorts of limitations has been what I'm trying to stew over, I guess. But
Yeah. So I will say, I'm going to quote my boss from work real quick because it's what's coming to mind is when I'm like setting my goals for the year at work, she always tells me, take credit for what you're already doing. So instead of thinking about like the things that are difficult to add on that maybe other people are doing, think about the things that you're already doing or you're already good at, or maybe you could elevate slightly without a whole lot of effort. And think about what kind of value is there already. So I'm thinking, Chase, about like maybe you don't have your race car immediately available, but you've got your face and a phone, right? And people want to connect with people more than they want to connect with a race car. So maybe that's where you start, is really talking about things, building your brand personally outside of that race car. And then when you do have the content, then that's where you can capitalize on the content. Or, instead of pulling a big trailer to the track, like that's just not feasible for you right now. But what if you did more activation locally where it is feasible for you? What if you go 2.5 hours to your shop and do some activation events there instead? So just kind of think about like, what are you already doing that you can capitalize on, would be where I would start.
Thank you.
Advice. What other questions do you have?
I don't want to take like too much airspace because I acknowledge we're, I think, the only youth team on. But I think for us, there's been times where we kind of brand ourselves as a youth team because, I mean, it's one of the biggest classes that Champ offers. I think like kids are inherently cute. So like who wants to kind of like be mean or say no to a kid? But I think there's also opportunities then where like big companies or businesses are like, well, we don't take you that seriously because you're a kid and you're not like an adult. So like maybe we'll throw you kind of this like pity cash sponsorship, which every little bit helps. But like we struggle, I think, to land kind of like those big deals. So just wondering if you have suggestions. I mean, you guys follow us on social media, like we work on our engagement, but just wondering how we can kind of like push ourselves maybe to that next level while still, I mean, we're a youth team. That's just kind of where we're at. So,
yeah. So I honestly think that it's very valuable to be a youth team. And I don't know anybody that's doing a great job in, at least off-road, of marketing that really well. And I think that really comes down to brand alignment, is who is trying to reach the demographic that you have the reach with, right? And how are you reaching a demographic? Who are you able to reach because you are a youth team? So the people that are following your team are very different than the people who are following other teams. And I expect that you probably have a pretty big following of family and friends, and probably Bennett's friends, right? Who are you marketing to that's different than who everybody else is marketing to? And when you start to think about what's different about the people that you can sell to, or at least be exposed to and activate product and influence their buying decisions, that's where the gold sits, because then you can start to sell that to the sponsors that are trying to sell to those people. I don't know if I have that answer really nailed down, like full disclosure on like who those companies would be, or even what that target demographic looks like. But I can tell you that it's very different than the one that I'm reaching. And I think that's where the gold sits. And if you figure that out, man, gold mine. I will say too, I'm just going to build on that. You talked about like pity sponsorships, and if you're selling the right things, a price tag is a price tag regardless of age. You know, it doesn't, it's not worth any less for you guys to do it because Bennett is 10 than it is for Chris to do it in his 30s. And it's okay to say that. Like, sorry guys, our price tag isn't that. What other questions, if any? I know we're 15 over, but like I said, we're here if you do have questions. Actually, Chris left because he had a sponsor call him, so sorry.
I will add on to this stuff. So being an older guy, looking at everybody on the screen, I'm probably one of the oldest guys. It was my first year putting a phone in my face and getting my fan base with me at the racetrack, in the shop, working on the car, working on the car at the racetrack. That is huge. It has picked up a ton for me to be able to do live or any type of video of your like weird stuff that's going on. Chase, you have had a ton of craziness that's happened this year, and you put that out there. I think that's big. It's even though it's not our best time of our racing career, but put that out there. When you break that stuff, you break that motor, you break that transmission, you put videos out there for the fan base and others to see it. They get to see a real side of a racer outside of the greatest, like, oh, we're getting this, we're doing this, we won this race. If you don't win all the races, that like some people really don't care. They want to see what you did to get 5th place, to get 8th place, to get 10th place. You dug down deep and went after and bled and just poured your heart out after your finishing. It doesn't matter where you're at sometimes. It's like get out there and show the world what you did to get to where you're at right now. And that pays off huge.
Yeah, and authentically so, because everybody on social media posts their wins, whether we're talking racing or not, right? I saw something that said the reason why you're feeling like you don't compare to others is because you're looking on social media and you're comparing your behind the scenes to somebody else's highlight reel, right? Well, everybody is tired of looking at highlight reels. They want to connect with real people. And if you're in the pits crying because you had a shit race, they are going to connect to you a heck of a lot better than if you're in the pits crying by yourself and then you walk out and say, I'm fine, everything's fine, it was fine, I liked it, you know? Like people want to see real emotion, vulnerability, and truthfully, like the hard work that is put in behind the scenes, and that it's not always easy.
Yep. A lot of people don't know that there's race teams that are out there that was just a husband and wife, a girlfriend, boyfriend, just two people out there like doing it all. They just know there's like a huge race team that supports them. They want to see the small race team that's pouring their hearts out to go to every race, to finish every race, to bust their ass every night to get the car back out on the track.
Mm-hmm. Teresa, I saw your hand up there. Market that.
There were nights I didn't sleep. We arrived at the races the morning of. Some of them I didn't even have parking because I didn't know if I was going to make it because we were in our garage. And by the way, I live like in a subdivision, a homeowners association. So my race cars in our driveway right now, the homeowners association is about to kill me until I get it in my garage. But our garage is so full right now. I mean, I was just like hammering shit to get just Yeah. Yep. I
Yep.
crashed a lot. I crashed not last year, not this past year, the year before. Oh, I crashed a lot. I would just pull in the races and I'd be like, well, let's see where my brother is. I'm sure I can just pit with him. He probably hated me for some of it. He disowned me like the first season. He if anyone else saw he was selling his used Hoosier tires on Facebook, he made me pay for them. My own brother. So, no one else would buy the tires. I'm like, why don't you sell them to your sister? No, he made me pay for them.
That's content right there. That's what that is.
And I don't have time to put content on. And yeah, I should, but I just like don't. I have like too many things. I have my 3-year-old in the background. My husband's out in the garage doing, I don't even know what, but the air compressor's going off and there's like so much noise going on. But yeah, if anyone doesn't know, I'm the racer, but my husband helps work on the cars because he's just better at that stuff.
So I am going to challenge you, Teresa, and everybody else on this call, because I follow like basically all of you on social media. So I know what you're doing. I see it. I am going to challenge all of you. When Chris said invest in yourself, he meant, yeah, put some money into it, but he also meant put some time into it. So when you know that something is going to have a very valuable return, and Ryan just told you, I started taking videos of myself and I saw huge rewards, right? When you know something is going to be a big return for you, invest in it. Time, money, resources of any kind, invest where you're going to see that return.
Yep. Doesn't matter if it's the highest of your career point or the lowest. Sometimes the lowest of your career point, where like everything's going against you, is the best time to sell yourself, because you're going to rebound and sell yourself back the next day. It's huge. Chase, you're a big part of this. I've been a big fan of you. You've had some massive low points all through the year, but like you would have a low point on Saturday, come back out on Sunday and sell yourself. And like with all racers, you have your low point, come back out, sell yourself, sell the high point of the worst day of your life, and you came back and got your best career finish of the racetrack. Sell yourself.
I couldn't agree more.
Could have a whole little mini series of this season.
I feel like a lot of us could.
Ours was the year prior, but yeah.
Also, I do have to say the
Yep.
community of racers was great. When I cracked my engine block at ERX the first day, I don't have an extra engine that I bring to the track, so I couldn't race. And I had everybody that night trying to find me an RS1 engine. Then the best part is when they found out that I was Robert Loir's sister, they're like, you're at ERX. Can't he just take one off the shelf? Oh, newsflash, my brother actually got terminated from Polaris that day, like the next day. So I also don't have like the stealing the employee discount thing anymore. So I'm really need a sponsorships now.
Well, that's why you're here. You're learning.
But
All
it
right,
was
guys.
nice. Everybody did come together to try to find me an engine, which I just told them to give up because it was like 2 a.m. I'm like, just stop. I'm not going to switch out. And I just know.
Yes. The community is a family for sure. I hope that's true across other motorsports. We've seen others that are, others that aren't. but-
Motocross is. That's where I
Yeah.
came from. And motocross is a big, yeah.
I don't doubt that. All right, guys, we are way over, and I am happy to answer any questions that you have. Chris is happy to answer any questions that you have. You can ping us, have a chat with us if you'll be out at PRI, which I hope you will be, because that's a very important place to be. We'll be out there. Stop by, say hi to us. I know you'll be there, Ryan. You bought our hotel room. But you know, we'll see you guys all around at the track, but ping us, keep up with us. For those of you that are selling on Racer on Demand, don't forget we now have a referral bonus. So I am looking to get more people on the marketplace. The more people we have there, the more stuff is going to sell for everybody. So it's good to see you guys. I'll talk to you all later.
All right. Thanks a lot, Amanda. Appreciate you. Appreciate everybody that was here.
Thank you, Amanda and Chris.
Thanks again.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.